Agalloch, the Serpent and the Sphere. So at last we have the latest Agalloch release. It's been 4 or so years since the last one, Mirror of the Spirit, came out in 2010. November 23rd specifically, since that was my birthday, but that's beside the point. This is May 2014 with Serpent and the Sphere. And yeah, let's attempt to talk about this thing. As with most Agalloch albums, this is going to be a pretty hard album for me to put into words. I mean, that's the thing with listening to albums. It's one thing to like listen to an album. It's another to actually try to describe like all the little kinks and nuances that goes into the creation of an album. It's really hard to just describe, but I'll try my best. And sorry if I sound pretty shitty and generic at doing so, but we'll just give it a go. So when you're looking at the song lengths for the first time, you actually notice like a bit of an inverse effect going on, like compared to the previous album. When you're looking at the previous album, you notice, of course, there's only 2 songs that were shorter than 10 minutes. Like if you take those 2 shorter songs out, it would basically be like Agalloch's Morning Rise, if you get my drift, if you know about Opeth. But when you look at this album, like you notice there's actually only 2 songs that are over 10 minutes, so every other song on here ranges from like 3 to 8.5 minutes long or whatever, whereas on this album, you get only 2 songs, the opener, Birth and Death of the Pillars of Creation, and the massive 12-minute instrumental Plateau of the Ages. So that's actually kind of interesting. Consequently, this is actually the shortest album that they've ever done, really. This beats out Ashes Against the Grain by about 3 seconds, so naturally, because there's less, like, longer songs on this album, I think it results in the slightly shorter album length. And the track list structure is actually remotely similar to the way the Mantle is structured. Like, on the Mantle, you have songs that basically have lyrics from John Hamm, like, basically divided by songs that are primarily instrumental based. You kind of get a similar track list structure here. I mean, it's not quite the same as the one with the Mantle. With the Mantle, is like instrumental lyrics, instrumental lyrics, instrumental lyrics, etc., etc. On here, it's you know, it's not quite the same as it is for the Mantle, but you kind of get a similar feel to it. It's kind of like dividing up small little sandwiches or whatever. Obviously, that's not meant to imply that the instrumental tracks are filler or anything, because all these tracks provide their own sense of ambience and atmosphere. It is part of the grand whole that makes up the Sphere, the Serpent and the Sphere. In fact, I feel this album actually has better consistency and flow than the previous album did. I mean, I liked the previous album, and I feel I had some good flow, although I felt a couple of the songs from the last album I felt kind of overstayed their welcome a bit. I thought maybe they could have made it a bit shorter, because some of like the outros to those songs I thought were a bit monotonous. Whereas on this album, I feel that they've trimmed the fat, so to speak. I mean, I'm not saying I hate long albums or anything. I just feel that, you know, they trimmed the fat and just gave us like the best meat to put on the table. So that's all I'm saying. This isn't really saying much, especially about Agalloch out of all bands, but this is actually quite a diverse listen. I think it picks and chooses like some favorite elements off of the previous 4 albums that they've done, while also I think they have picked out a few new elements that I don't think they've ever touched before. Like, listen to a song like the Astral Dialogue, which actually kind of reminds me of Amorphous quite a bit. It's actually a bit more like melodic and folky by Agalloch standards. When you listen to Amorphous, like, think of a song like Leaves Scar or Narrow Path, and you should probably get more of an idea of what I'm referring to here. The song's kind of like the like more like aggressive little brother of Not Unlike the Waves. If it's kind of like a little continuation of that. I also like those little moments in this song where you hear some like deeper growls in the background, just like low, more death metal oriented growls that you kind of hear in the background as part of like, I wouldn't say a harmony or anything, but just like a two vocal section or whatever in the song Astral Dialogues, alongside John Hamm's signature rasp, which I always love hearing. Yeah, that's all I just wanted to say about that. It's just a really nice touch. I'd have to say this is probably like their most all-encompassing album to date. I would say I was about to say before, it kind of had more of like a Ashes Against the Grain sort of sound. Like a lot of the melodies on this album kind of remind me of Ashes Against the Grain. Although there's a lot of other elements on this album that kind of just remind me of everything that they've done, so I can't really say that. That's why I have to come to the conclusion that it's a bit of like a melting pot of everything that is Agalloch. They take a little pale folklore here, take some mantle here, take some ashes against the grain, sprinkle that on top, and then just put in a big bowl of marrow the spirit stew, and voila, you got the serpent and the sphere boiling out of this cauldron of Agalloch stew. Um, Sorry, it's kind of a weird metaphor, but that's basically what I think about this album overall. That's basically my main conclusion of what this album sounds like. And this isn't much of a criticism, really. I mean, it shouldn't even be classified as a criticism since it doesn't actually detract anything from the overall quality of the album, but I miss hearing, like, John Hamm's clean vocals here, like, singing actual lyrics, although I do hear some beautiful harmonies in the background, and John Hamm's rasp is always just awesome to hear. I always love hearing it, but I was kind of hoping for, like, at least one clean passage a la In the Shadow of Our Pale Companion. Even the Watcher's Monolith off the previous album got to have like a full-on cleanly sung passage. I feel like with each passing Agalloch album they decrease the amount of cleanly sung passages more and more, and I mean, I hope they don't take that element away altogether, because I always love hearing that from every Agalloch album, but I mean, I can't decide what they can or can't do. It's their album, it's their music, but, you know, it's just kind of a nitpick, but, I mean, what can I do, really? All in all, I'll probably give this about a 9 out of 10. This is probably the forerunner for Album of the Year. I think so far it's the best album I've heard so far. We'll see if any other albums come out this year that might top it. I mean, who knows? I think Opeth's coming out with a new album, but we'll see about that. I don't think it's gonna top the Mantle. That's like impossible. That's almost impossible to achieve, considering that's like one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. But I certainly think it's actually quite a bit better than the previous album, Mirror of the Spirit, which I also liked. But I feel this is actually quite a bit more consistent. I think it's just one big enjoyable slab of Agallochian goodness, so to speak, and I feel all of you should really go out, support this band, buy this album, see them live, do whatever you can to show your support if you really are into this band's music. I have an Agalloch shirt lying around somewhere. I've seen the band live already, like last fall. They were awesome. And I pre-ordered this album from Profound Lore Records, which is their record label. So I suggest you do the same. Get a vinyl, get a tape, get a CD. I happen to order the standard CD myself. So just definitely just support this band if you're into them. And even if you haven't heard of them before, maybe this is the first time you're watching my video, then I highly recommend you go out and check this band out. This is, again, a 9 out of 10, forerunner for Album of the Year as of the time of this recording, so, yeah, okay, I'm rambling now, but thank you very much, and I'll see ya.